welcome to our deep dive all about cats.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you're obviously here because you love these furry enigmas as much as we do.
Right. Yeah.
So we've actually gone and gathered some really cool sources from Wikipedia and Cats Protection.
Oh, wow.
That's the UK's largest cat welfare charity, by the way.
Okay.
And forget just basic facts. We're going to uncover some truly surprising stuff about cat evolution anatomy and how they tick.
Yeah. You know, most people think of cats and they think of ancient Egypt.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Right. All those hieroglyphs and cat goddesses.
Oh, yeah.
But the story actually begins way earlier.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably in the Fertile Crescent.
Wait, so are you saying that those Egyptian cat mummies weren't where it all began?
Well, not quite.
Okay.
So the domestic cat, scientifically known as Felis catus, descended from the African wildcat. And get this. The earliest evidence of taming comes from Cyprus.
Oh, wow.
Around 7,500 to 7,200 BC.
Cyprus.
Yeah.
That is unexpected.
Yeah.
So what makes Cyprus so special in the cat story?
Well, Cyprus had no native mammals.
Well, heck.
So settlers likely brought cats from the mainland.
Oh, okay.
It's thought that wild cats were drawn to human settlements because of, you guessed it, rodents.
Of course.
Those mice attracted to early farms were easy prey.
Yeah.
And over time, this mutually beneficial relationship led to domestication.
So it wasn't just like humans deciding to keep cats around. It was a two-way street.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about the ancient Egyptians then?
Yeah.
Were they just late to the cat party?
Not exactly. While initial domestication probably happened elsewhere, genetic evidence suggests that Egyptian wildcats later contributed to the domestic cat gene pool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really fascinating how this one species spread and diversified across the world.
So even after all this time, those wildcat instincts are still there.
Absolutely. Even after thousands of years, domestic cats retain a lot of their wildcat anatomy and behaviors.
So let's talk about those wildcat traits then.
Okay.
What are some anatomical quirks that make cats such incredible hunters?
Okay, well, for starters, unlike us, cats walk on their toes.
Okay.
They're what's called digitigrade, just like dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives them a stealthy advantage.
Right.
Their unique pacing gait,
where
they move both legs on one side of the body before switching to the other, helps them minimize noise and the number of tracks they leave.
Right.
Perfect for sneaking up on unsuspecting prey.
Wow.
Yeah.
And their claws.
Oh, yeah.
They're like little switchblades tucked away until needed.
Exactly. Retractable claws and super sharp, especially on the front paws.
Right.
And then there are those jaws.
Oh, yeah?
Cats have specialized teeth designed for a lethal neck bite.
Okay.
Their canines are perfectly spaced to sever a rodent's spinal cord.
Oh, geez.
They're incredibly efficient predators.
Oh, that paints a whole new picture of those cute little nibblers we have at home.
Right.
So are those tiny kibbles we feed them really replicating their natural diet?
Well, not quite.
Okay.
But don't worry, commercially prepared cat food is formulated to meet their nutritional needs.
Okay.
But it is amazing to think about how evolution has shaped their anatomy for hunting.
Okay, so their anatomy is all about stealth and efficiency.
Right?
What about their senses?
Well,
their night vision is legendary.
No, absolutely. Cats can see in light 6 times dimmer than what humans need.
Wow.
This is thanks to a special reflective layer in their eyes called the tapetum lucidum.
Ooh.
It acts like a mirror, bouncing light back through the retina for a second chance at detection.
Oh, wow.
That's why their eyes seem to glow in the dark. It's reflected light.
That explains those spooky nighttime stares.
Right.
What about their hearing?
Yeah.
It always seems like they can hear a tree bag crinkling from miles away.
Yeah.
So?
Well, their hearing range is much broader than ours.
Okay.
Picking up both high-pitched ultrasound used by rodents and lower frequencies that we miss.
Wow.
Those big mobile ears act like satellite dishes, amplifying and pinpointing sounds with incredible accuracy.
Wow, so they've got super sight and super hearing.
Yeah.
What about smell and taste?
Well, smell is vital for cats.
Okay.
Their olfactory system is even more developed than a dog's, allowing them to pick up subtle scents, especially pheromones, which are chemical signals used for communication.
So that spraying thing they do is actually a form of communication.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I've always wondered about that.
Spraying is one way they mark territory.
Okay.
But they also have scent glands on their faces, which they use to rub against objects, and even people leaving their scent. Think of it as a feline way of saying hello or this is mine.
That explains the headbutting thing my cat does.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not just affection. It's a scent marking tactic. Amazing. What about taste?
Well, unlike their sense of smell, cats actually have a poor sense of sweetness.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's due to a gene mutation that prevents them from tasting sugar.
Interesting.
However, they make up for it with a heightened sensitivity to savory and bitter flavors.
Oh.
Which makes sense considering their carnivorous nature.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, there is one plant that seems to drive some cats wild.
Yeah.
Catnip.
Catnip, yeah.
Have you ever seen a cat on catnip?
Oh, yeah.
It's like a furry rolling party.
Yeah, it's the nepetalactone in the plant that triggers that crazy response.
Wow.
It seems to mimic a pheromone, stimulating social and even sexual behaviors in some cats.
Really?
Though not all cats react to it.
Oh.
Only about 70 to 80% are susceptible to its charms.
So it's like feline happy hour.
Exactly.
Some are party animals and others prefer to stay in.
Right, yeah.
It's amazing how each cat can have such a different reaction.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And it's not just catnip. Silvervine and valerian also have similar effects on some cats.
Right.
It just goes to show how complex their senses are and how much we still have to learn about them.
Okay, now let's get into the feline mind a bit.
Okay.
Is it true that coat color dictates personality?
Oh.
My friend insists that her ginger cat is the most playful.
That's a common myth.
Yeah.
But there's no scientific evidence to support it.
Really?
Yeah. Coat color and personality are determined by different genes. Oh. And there's no correlation between the two.
So those personality stereotypes are just that?
Yeah.
Stereotypes.
Exactly.
Okay. But speaking of personality, what about feral cats? Do they have social structures, or is it every cat for itself?
Feral cat colonies are surprisingly complex.
Okay.
They form social groups, usually centered around cooperating females.
Okay.
Each cat has its own territory, which they mark by spraying, rubbing, and even defecation.
That's definitely not how I would mark my territory.
All right.
But it sounds like they have a system.
Yeah.
So what happens when those territories overlap?
Well, when a strange cat enters another cat's territory, there's usually a standoff.
Okay.
The resident cat will try to scare the intruder away with staring, hissing, growling, typical cat tactics.
Oh, I've seen that look. Yeah. My cats give me that look when their food bowls are empty.
Exactly. And if those warnings don't work, things can escalate to a brief but intense fight, although serious injuries are rare.
Okay.
The loser usually retreats with a few scratches, and life goes on.
So it's a hiss and run strategy.
Pretty much.
Even in the wild.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, one last thing before we move on. Why do cats bring us presents?
Oh, yeah.
You know, those dead mice and birds?
Yeah.
Are they just showing off?
There are a few theories about this.
Right.
Some experts believe it's a form of bonding, like sharing their bounty with their social group, which now includes us.
Yeah.
Others think they're trying to teach us to hunt. Or even feeding us as if we were helpless kittens.
So it's their way of saying, look, human, you seem pretty clueless. Let me show you how it's done.
Exactly. It's humbling.
Yeah.
But it also shows how deeply ingrained those hunting instincts are.
Yeah.
Even in pampered house cats.
Speaking of house cats, how many cats are we talking about worldwide?
Okay.
Are there really that many feline overlords ruling our homes?
The numbers are staggering.
Really?
Back in 2007, there were already over 500 million domestic cats worldwide.
Wow.
And that number has only grown since then.
Wow, that's a lot of catnip.
Yeah.
And speaking of a lot of cats, according to the Cats Protection website, they're the UK's largest cat welfare charity.
Oh, wow.
It makes sense, considering all those cats.
Yes, they do incredible work caring for cats in need.
Wow.
It's amazing to think how these creatures, once wild predators, have become such beloved companions.
And sometimes those companions rule our lives with an iron paw.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But that's a topic for another time.
Indeed. There's still so much more to uncover about our fascinating feline friends.
For sure.
Yeah. You know, it's amazing to think our relationship with these furry enigmas goes back thousands of years.
It really is.
We've talked about their wild origins and amazing adaptations.
Right.
But let's dive a little deeper into this whole cat-human connection throughout history.
Okay, so we know those early farmers really appreciated a good mouser.
Oh, absolutely.
But how did cats go from pest control to beloved companions?
Well, that's a fascinating question.
Yeah.
For centuries, cats were valued for their pest control skills. They were crucial on farms to keep rodents away from crops and on ships to protect valuable cargo. They were like the original working cats.
And that tradition continues even today, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I've heard of barns and even some businesses that have working cats to keep pests at bay.
Exactly. Those feline instincts are still put to good use.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there's also a darker side to our history with cats. In the past, cat fur was used for clothing.
Really?
Which thankfully is now banned in many places.
It's sad to think about how our relationship with cats hasn't always been one of pure adoration.
Yeah.
I guess it's a good reminder that we need to be mindful of their well-being and treat them with respect.
Absolutely, yeah. And speaking of how different cultures have viewed cats, we can't forget the role they've played in mythology and folklore.
Oh, yes, myths and legends.
Exactly.
This is where things get really interesting. So tell me about those ancient Egyptians and their reverence for cats.
Okay.
Like the goddess Bastet.
The ancient Egyptians worshipped Bastet, a goddess often depicted in cat form.
Wow.
She represented protection, fertility, and motherhood. Cats were so revered that killing one was strictly forbidden.
Can you imagine that?
It's incredible.
No wonder they mummified their cats. It sounds like they were considered almost divine.
Oh, they definitely held a special place in Egyptian society.
Wow. But not all cultures viewed cats in such a positive light.
Right, exactly. Think about the superstition of black cats.
Oh, yeah.
And bad luck.
That's the great point.
Yeah.
So why did black cats get such a bad rap in some cultures?
Well, the black cat superstition actually has its roots in medieval Europe.
Okay.
Sadly, black cats became associated with witchcraft and evil spirits, leading to their persecution.
Oh, wow.
It's a tragic example of how fear and misinformation can impact our perception of animals.
It's really heartbreaking to think about all those innocent cats being mistreated because of superstition.
Yeah.
Speaking of curious beliefs, what about the myth of cats having 9 lives?
Oh, yeah.
Where on earth did that one come from?
It's a belief found in many cultures, but its origin is still debated. Some think it stems from their incredible agility and ability to escape, seemingly deadly situations. Others link it to their righting reflex, which allows them to, twist their bodies midair and land on their feet when falling.
So it's like they have a built-in parachute.
Right.
Although I wouldn't recommend testing that theory from a high-rise balcony.
No, definitely not.
Even with 9 lives, gravity's a tough opponent.
That's for sure.
Okay, so we've covered a lot here, from ancient history and mythology to modern-day cat care.
Right.
But there's one thing we haven't touched on yet.
Okay.
The fascinating story of how a completely different species of wildcat was also domesticated.
You're talking about the Chinese leopard cat.
Yes. This is a great example of how the history of domestication isn't always straightforward, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So while Felis catus spread across most of the world and China, a different wildcat species, Prionellurus bengalensis, was independently tamed.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. These early domesticated leopard cats were probably used for pest control, much like their African wildcat counterparts.
Right.
So there were actually 2 separate domestication events happening in different parts of the world. That's incredible.
That's amazing.
But if these leopard cats were domesticated in China, why don't we see them as pets today?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Why did Felis catus become the dominant domestic cat species globally?
Well, that's a question that has puzzled researchers for a while.
Yeah.
One theory is that the leopard cat's temperament made them less suitable for, close companionship.
Okay.
They might have retained more of their wild nature, making them less adaptable to domestic life.
Right.
Another possibility is that as trade routes expanded, Felis catus was introduced to China and simply outcompeted the leopard cat in terms of popularity.
So a combination of temperament and human preference might have tipped the scales in favor of Felis catus.
Exactly.
It's like a feline survival of the fittest, but with a social twist.
I like that.
Speaking of social behavior, we talked about how feral cats form colonies with complex social structures.
Right.
But what about our pampered house cats? Do they still have any social instincts left?
That's a great question. While our house cats might not need to hunt for their food or defend their territory, they still exhibit a lot of social behaviors.
Okay.
For example, have you ever noticed how your cat rubs its head against you?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Or furniture?
Yeah.
I always thought it was just a sign of affection. Well, it is a sign of affection, but it's also a lot more than that.
Okay.
Remember those scent glands we talked about? Well, when your cat rubs against you, they're actually depositing their scent, marking you as part of their group.
Wow.
It's a subtle but powerful way of saying, you're one of mine.
So those head bumps are actually a form of feline bonding.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool. And what about that strange behavior called flemening?
Oh, yeah.
Where they kind of grimace and open their mouths?
Yeah, yeah.
It looks almost comical.
That's a great observation. So flemening involves using this special organ on the roof of their mouth.
Okay.
It's called the Jacobson's organ.
Okay.
And it helps them detect pheromones and other chemical signals in the air.
Wow.
So when a cat flemens, they're essentially taking a deep sniff to gather more information about their surroundings, especially regarding, the presence of other cats.
So it's like a super-powered sense of smell.
Exactly.
Yeah. Amazing. Huh. What about other social cues, though?
Okay.
Do cats communicate with each other through vocalizations like meows?
Well, while cats do use a variety of vocalizations to communicate, meowing is primarily directed at humans.
Oh, okay.
Not other cats.
Interesting.
They've learned that we respond to meows, especially when it comes to getting food or attention.
So they've trained us well.
Yeah, exactly.
But what about interactions between cats?
Okay.
Do they have ways of signaling, like, aggression or displeasure?
Absolutely, yeah. Cats have a whole repertoire of body language cues they use to communicate with each other.
Right.
A puffed up tail, flattened ears, hissing and growling are all clear signs of, an agitated or defensive cat.
Okay.
And then there's something called redirected aggression.
Redirected aggression, what's that?
So imagine your cat sees another cat outside through the window and gets agitated, unable to reach the cat outside.
Yeah.
They might redirect that aggression towards you or another pet in the house. It's kind of like taking out their frustration on the nearest target.
Right.
Even if that target had nothing to do with, the original trigger.
That makes sense. It's like when I get stuck in traffic and come home feeling grumpy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's probably best to give my cat some space in those situations.
That's probably a wise idea. Understanding these subtle cues can help us create a more harmonious environment for both cats and humans.
Right.
After all, living with a cat is all about understanding their needs and respecting their boundaries.
Speaking of boundaries, the Cats Protection website mentions how important it is to provide cats with, safe spaces and enrichment opportunities.
Absolutely. Cats might be domesticated, but they still have those wild instincts that need to climb, explore, and exercise their natural behaviors.
Right.
Providing scratching posts, climbing structures, and interactive toys can help them stay, happy and well-adjusted.
It sounds like we still have a lot to learn about these complex creatures, even after thousands of years of living alongside them.
You're absolutely right. The more we delve into the world of cats, the more we realize how much we still don't know.
Wow, we've covered so much in this deep dive.
I know, right?
From those ancient plains of the Fertile Crescent to the cozy corners of our own homes. It's really been quite a journey through the world of cats.
It has. We've explored their wild origins.
Right.
Marveled at their incredible adaptations and even dove into those myths and legends that have surrounded them for centuries.
It really is amazing how these once solitary hunters have become, such beloved members of our families.
Yeah.
But as we've learned, they haven't completely left their wild side behind.
Right, exactly.
Those instincts are still there, influencing their behavior and how they interact with us.
I think that's a key takeaway from this deep dive.
Yeah, totally.
Those seemingly random acts of playfulness or those moments of aloof independence, they're all like echoes of their wild ancestry. And understanding this duality, I think, is essential for building strong bonds with our feline companions.
It makes you wonder if cats retain so much of their wild instincts, even after thousands of years of domestication.
Yeah.
What does that really say about the nature of domestication itself?
That's a fascinating question. And it's one that researchers are still trying to figure out.
Right.
So is domestication like a complete transformation? Or is it more of like a delicate dance between two worlds.
Right.
Perhaps it's a gradual process with, subtle shifts in behavior and genetics over generations.
Yeah, it really makes you appreciate that unique bond we share with cats even more.
Oh, absolutely.
They're not just miniature versions of their wild ancestors, but they're not, completely molded by human influence either.
Right.
They're somewhere in between, walking this line between independence and companionship.
And that's what makes them so captivating, right?
Yeah.
I mean, their enigmatic nature keeps us intrigued and coming back for more, head scratches and purrs.
Oh, yeah.
Even when they're driving us crazy with their antics.
Well said.
Yeah.
I think we've uncovered so much about their evolution, their anatomy, their senses, and even their, complex social structures.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the biggest takeaway for me is that understanding our cats is an ongoing journey.
It is.
There's always something new to learn and appreciate about them.
Absolutely. And that learning process is part of the joy of, sharing our lives with these amazing creatures.
Mm-hmm.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I encourage all of you out there to continue observing your cat. Notice those subtle behaviors and quirks that make them so unique.
And who knows, you might even discover something new about your feline friend that totally surprises you. After all, there's always more to uncover in this fascinating world of cats.
Always.
And you know what? We actually would love to hear about your own experiences and observations. So share your cat stories.
Oh, yeah.
There's those head-scratching moments or really anything that makes living with a cat such a rewarding experience.
Until next time, fellow cat enthusiasts.
Yes.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those cuddles coming.
And may your cat naps be long and your feather wands forever enticing.